I have very strong memories of spending the night at my grandparents' place when I was a kid. They lived about an hour away from here, so we would go there in the summers. They had a boat, which was very exciting, but also in the winter or even, spring or fall. And what I remember is waking up in the morning. We would wake up later than everyone else. I was just a kid, and you could hear people talking down the corridor. So my parents, my grandparents, they would already be awake. They were in the kitchen making breakfast, having a conversation. And you know how smells, they stick with you? They're a really strong memory trigger. One of those smells for me is coffee, and I always think of waking up those mornings at my grandparents' place. I didn't drink coffee when I was that young. I would roll out of bed, bleary-eyed, just awoken, kind of struggle down into the kitchen, and my little family would be there, and my grandpa would be making coffee of this exact coffee maker. I inherited this from him when he passed away a couple of years ago, and I love it. This is a Bodum San Pedro. I'm actually gonna switch it around. I don't know if you can see it, but it says Dom Pedro here. And I think this one, Bodum, is a Danish kitchenware company. This particular model, I think, is from the 50s or 60s. I would guess 60s, based on the design. And it's amazing, right? I mean, look at it. How crazy does it look? It's a vacuum coffee maker, which means that, countertop. You put the water here and the coffee here. Obviously, you can probably see that. And then there's a little filter here and kind of a chain that goes all the way down. So as we heat this bottom container up, water will start to rise, or steam will start to rise through the spiral and mix with the coffee grounds up here. This will brew, and then when we take it off the heat, obviously the pressure down here decreases because what we used to be very hot water is cooling down. That creates vacuum as the pressure decreases, and it pulls the coffee, but not the coffee grounds, down into this pot here, and that's how it makes coffee. And I remember, being a kid, this was like magic to me. I could never understand how it worked. And I remember waking up and you would see it like this. It's gonna start boiling here and kind of rise up. It would be like, I was fascinated. I would sit on, actually, this is funny, but I'm on a little stool right now, which came from my grandparents. I would sit on this exact one and I would watch this exact coffee maker, and entranced. I was absolutely enchanted by it. And to be honest, I still am. I've had a rough week. I don't know if you can hear. My voice is a little rougher than usual, but I've had a wisdom tooth here that's given me trouble. And I've been running a fever for most of the week. So it's been a really long and challenging week. And today I had, more time in the morning. So it just felt right to me to kind of bring up this coffee maker. It takes a little longer to set up, so usually I use my Mocha Master, but this one I use when I have more time, because it always brings me back to, being a small kid and just sitting there absolutely fascinated by this in my grandparents' kitchen. So I've been in this apartment for a number of years now. And I'm getting to a point where I'm ready to move on. So that means finding a new place, but it also means either selling or renting this place out. And this was my kind of bachelor pad through my, middle and late 20s, and it's taking a little bit of a beating along the way. I've not cared for it the way I should. So I think before I sell it, or, move on at least, it needs a bit of a facelift. I don't want to renovate it, obviously. That wouldn't probably be a good return on investment, but I think giving it a facelift is a good move. So I think, start small. And I think where I want to go first is just this windowsill here. It needs a little bit of love. It has some small water damage from like me messing about with the plants over here. So I need to sand down the wood. And then before I oil it, I was thinking I would do this actually. I had another piece of wood last week this same material that I sanded down, and then before I oiled it, I stained it with coffee. And I think it looks so nice. I don't know if you can see it, but I'm gonna try and bring it up to the camera. Oh, and obviously the light is awful, but if I block the window here, you can kind of see it more. So what I want to do is sand it down and then stain it with coffee, and it should hopefully look something like this. So I'm just gonna sand this down, stain it with some coffee, and hope that it turns out nice. So I don't know if you can see the difference through the camera, but this looks so much better than it did before. The wood didn't turn out exactly as dark as I wanted it, but I think it just looks so much more clean and premium, and it just looks nicer, all the kind of disgusting grime and wear and tear has been sanded off, and it has this nice polished surface to it. So very happy with this. So I just got a quick little update for you on Aurelio. I've been able to mostly sort out bugs in the last week, but I've added a few features that I wanted to show. One I think is really cool for me at least is this little text here, which just tells me how many times I've pushed something from either one daily to another, or like between these two lists here, from my weekly or my pin list, right? Which is really good for me because I can see how much I'm actually procrastinating certain tasks, which is really cool. I also added this little code up here. I don't think this was here last time, as well as a lot of UI changes. I made creating new tasks a little bit easier with some keyboard shortcuts, and I also spent like a lot of time on just making sure that this comment window, or like my text editor window, resizes properly, which seems like such a basic thing, but it turned out super tricky to do. I also redid my setting screen a little bit, so it looks cleaner, obviously, and it has space for both my items here, any values I want to track, and then, I can just add on things at the bottom here as I go. But for now, it's the daily prompt, which I want to be a little bit more dynamic, let's say, but it is what it is for now. And the last thing, I don't know if you see up here, but I've actually created something called projects, which I've cleared a little bit of space for right now. There's nothing here, but I have a sketch in Figma for how I want this to look. And basically this is just a place where you can keep multiple lists, I guess, right? So if I have, obviously, this project, is that for me? I don't want this to become like a productivity management tool or anything like that, but it's more, if you're, let's say you're renovating your house or you have something larger going on, you can track your work for that in one place, and this should make keeping bigger tasks And this should make keeping bigger tasks organized a little bit easier. This is something I really feel like I need, at least, which is why I'm building this here. So that's most of the things that has happened since last week. And for next week, I think I want to keep going down the projects route, see where that takes me, and also start adding in some statistics. Like, I'm tracking a lot of things, I'm checking things off. It would be really nice if the software could tell me how well I'm doing at those things. So hopefully I can follow up on that next time.